Our fourth presenter is Maruyama Daiki. Their choice is Theme 1. Please start.
3 weeks ago, I went to a supermarket. I found an old woman in front of me was holding a smartphone in one hand. And I saw her playing a puzzle game or that kind of stuff. The one thing I could say for sure was she was good at playing a puzzle game because the movement of her finger was incredibly fast for her appearance. This experience made me feel people are getting used to using a smartphone regardless of age. And my intuition was right. Please look at the statistics. More than half the people in their 80s are using the internet now. And you might say, well, that's good to hear. More people can keep up the latest news, right? What's wrong with it? However, things are not that easy because there is a demon living inside your device which keeps you away from knowing the truth. Before getting into the main point, I have a question for you. What do you think is the main cause of social media problem? Or why can't you defeat the demon? You might say, oh, it's because my favorite influencer tells a lie through Twitter or Facebook or YouTube. Unfortunately, though, that's wrong. That's not the most important factor. Why? Please look at this slide. Francis Bacon, an English philosopher, proposed the idea that there are 4 types of misconception we tend to hold, and that's what he called Idora. And I believe we are still struggling to know the truth because of these reasons shown in the slide. Haven't you ever believed the information just because it's convenient for you? Haven't you ever believed the rumor just because people around you are talking about it? Or haven't you ever believed an opinion just because it's embraced by celebrities? As you can see, because of the Idora, you can't discern false information and be deceived by fake news. Over hundreds of years have passed and society has greatly changed since he proposed this idea for the first time. The underlying cause remains the same. So, to combat fake news, you should have some tips to deal with them. In other words, improve your media literacy skill. But it's easier said than done. Because the meaning of the phrase improve media literacy was too vague to understand. It's weird that your teachers or textbooks tell you to improve media literacy, but they don't tell exactly how to improve media literacy. Isn't it? So, it's time to make clear the meaning of the phrase so that you all could understand how to improve media literacy and take some actions to achieve it. Sorry for taking a long time in introduction. Let's get down to the main topic. Well, if you want to get something important across to people, making the catchphrase is simple but effective way to do that. And famous catchphrase consists of 3 elements: easy to remember, easy to practice, and at no cost. For example, in Japan, there's a famous catchphrase, okashimo. Okashimo tells you how you should do to save your life in a fire emergency. And this catchphrase also contains 3 elements I mentioned: easy to remember, easy to practice, and at no cost. This idea touched my heart, and I think, how would it be useful if you could learn about media literacy in that way? Yes, that's what I want to talk about today. By the end of the presentation, you will have a magic formula that will improve your media literacy skill. And that's what I call SCOPE. Let's see what this acronym stands for. The S is skeptical. Don't believe information without any doubt. Thinking critically helps you avoid being deceived by fake news. The C is curious. Don't stick to what you've seen or what you've heard. The knowledge that was once right often turns out to be wrong as technology moves forward. So keep updating your wisdom by getting as much information as possible. The O is objective. Although you get as much information as possible, deciding which one is correct often depends on your temporary feeling, and that is to say, cognitive bias. Because of cognitive bias, you sometimes distort some facts. So, to recognize your cognitive bias, do some practices that will make you think objectively. For example, meditating, keeping a diary, or just taking a deep breath helps you get less emotional and make a proper decision. P is prudent. Don't make light of the power of words. Although you get as much no matter how objective you try to be, you can't completely avoid misinformation because verbal information is so powerful that it will affect your way of thinking unconsciously. And sadly, some people make use of this power to bully someone that leads to the increasing number of people committing suicide today. So, you should take precaution. In Japan, there's a famous proverb called Mizaru iwazaru kikazaru. It means don't see, don't say, don't hear in English. And this lesson is also applicable when you use social media. For example, don't see comments that will make you feel disgusted. Don't say something that will hurt other internet users. And don't hear information that will lower your self-esteem. The E is expressing. Express your own opinion or thought. You can help someone acquire knowledge that will make better choice. Next, I'd like to introduce SCOPE program. As I mentioned, media literacy is necessary for people of all ages, and the way to improve media literacy should be easy to remember, easy to practice, and at no cost. Well, here's the good news. SCOPE program meets all the requirements. In this program, you practice each section of SCOPE for 30 minutes per day. For example, on Monday, you talk with people about social issues to develop critical thinking skills. On Tuesday, you search about what you are interested in by reading a thesis or getting access to some other information. On Wednesday, you practice meditation so that you could develop objective thinking skills. On Thursday, you try to give kind words to people around you and try not to use a smartphone to use social media. On Friday, you make a speech about what you searched or what you learned. Thanks to its simplicity, SCOPE program can be conducted in school, workplace, nursing home, or some other communities. So, all you have to do is to do these practices for 30 minutes before school hours or work time. Having said that, I think some of you might find it dull to take the trouble to do these practices just only for improving media literacy. I know. But I'm sure you will feel rewarded by just participating in this program because these abilities are strongly connected with some various skills that would help everybody in their lives. Please look at this slide. They are just a part of the benefits you can get from participating in SCOPE program. As you can see, just sacrificing your 30 minutes in the morning, you can improve work efficiency, mental well-being, develop a good relationship, be creative, be smart, etc., etc. And that's why I recommend SCOPE program for everyone. Finally, I want you to share what I talk about today with your families, friends, and partners. Because practicing SCOPE doesn't only help yourself, but also helps people around you. And I believe the world will be a better place if everyone followed the rules that were written only in 5 letters. That's all for my presentation. I hope this catchphrase helps you expand your scope of understanding media literacy. Thank you.
Thank you, Maruyama Daiki. Now, we are going to have the question and answer session from the judges.
Hi, thank you very much. So SCOPE is your own original catchphrase, is it?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. Also, Is this a Japanese audience that you have targeted?
Yes.
Because it's an English word.
I'm also thinking, so you mean, is there a Japanese translated version of Scope?
No, I mean, well, but that's not my main question, actually.
Ah,
So
sorry.
Let me go
I'm
straight to
sorry.
my main question. It sounds good, but I wonder how exactly you plan to do that 30 minutes program. Like,
Yeah.
for example, just talking about, as you were talking about like critical thinking or developing all these skills. Very well, but how exactly do you do that in 30 minutes?
Oh, yes. Well, I thinking of like in usual ordinary school in Japan, there's often some time before the school hours, like asadokusho or reading.
Sorry to interrupt. I'm not talking about getting the time, but how do you intend to develop that kind of skill? Because it's a difficult thing. Everyone would love to have that, but do you have like concrete thoughts about developing each skills? Because objectivity as well, it's a difficult thing to obtain. So what kind of-
So you mean making some goal or by testing how objective you are or how?
What are you going to do in that 30 minutes? How are you going to use it?
Oh. Well, it's kind of need to be discussed more further, but I think we should more like make some like I want to not so complicated thing make things like people really have with joy. So I want to make plan like if so choose best person who are most making best effort in scope, give some certification or that kind of thing will be my helpful. But as you said, this will be more time to make it clear. So I appreciate your advice.
Thank you. And now from our second judge.
Daiki-san, thank you very much for your presentation, and
you.
thank you for telling us what to do each day of the week. Improving media literacy is really important, which I quite agree. And it is especially important when it comes to political campaigns. You have to fight off fake news and sometimes conspiracy theories. It's important because it's foundation of our democracy. Which element of scope do you think, in your opinion, most important to fight off those fake news in political campaigns?
Well, political, maybe this C section, curious, because Japanese, especially Japanese students today, are less and less interested in getting less and less interested in political, including me. Sorry, but so maybe more people have interest in the political. I mean, curious. People more likely to know what is right and what is wrong in political affairs.
Thank you.
Thank you, judges. And we have some questions from our audience. The first question is, how do you plan to market or share this program with organizations, schools, and communities?
I'm thinking about, maybe some people might think about sharing this idea with maybe affiliating some big companies or tying up some commercial using thing. But as I said, I want to stick to my original plan. Easy to remember, easy to practice, and it doesn't any cost. So I want to share these ideas at no cost. So I think about, for example, using Twitter, adding a hashtag, and reporting each scope activities. Like recently we are utilizing hashtag as a kind of, commercialize or let people more about. So I want to use Twitter or adding hashtag because I want to make it at no cost. That's all my opinion.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Maruyama Daiki, and thank you, judges. Wonderful presentation. Thank you.
ありがとうございました。